Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to call to order the DuPage County Public Works Committee of Tuesday, August 15, 2023. The time is now 9 a.m. Can I get a roll call?
Chair Garcia,
Here.
Vice Chair Ozog,
Here.
Member Cahill,
Here.
Member Desart,
Here.
Member Galassi, Member Zay.
Here.
Okay, is there any public comment for today?
Nope.
No. Okay. So we're moving on. I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes
So
23-2664
Second.
Public Works Committee meetings of the regular meeting Tuesday, August 1st, 2023. We have a motion to approve in a second. Are there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to budget transfers, looking for a motion to approve 23-2665 Public Works transfer of funds from account number 2000-2555-54120
Second.
to account number 2000-2665-54120 for automotive equipment for a truck in the amount of $46,000. Got a motion and a second. Any discussion on this? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to claims reports, looking for a motion to approve 23-2666 payment of claims, public works and facilities management.
So moved.
Motion to approve in a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I would like to combine, can I combine? I think I can combine the consent items because they're all, I think, decreasing, right? So I'm going to combine items 8A through 8F.
Ask a quick question on this one. This was, we made some changes on this. Member Zay mentioned before, he'd like a little bit more detail. Now, these are all the same thing. They're all contract expiring, but all of the committees, if you notice, we've added a little bit more. Is this getting more to what you were thinking?
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you. That's, lets us know what's going on.
And obviously, if there's something other than contract expiring, that'll be more interesting, but these are all contract expiring.
Thank you.
Okay, so do we have a motion to combine?
Yes, so moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so looking for a motion to approve 23-2667 FM Hill Mechanical Corporation, 23-2668 FM Hobart ITW Food Equipment Group. All of these are decreasing. 23-2669 FM Metropolitan Industrial Industries 5233. Item 23260, FM SNI Solutions Inc. 23-2671, FM Night EA Inc. And finally 23-2672, FM Night EA Inc. Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Looking for a motion to approve the bid award of FMP 007723, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Arlington Glass and Mirror Company for on-call window glazing, repair, replacement, window adjustment, and board up services as needed for county facilities management for the 2-year period of October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2025 for a contract total amount not to exceed $70,000. Motion to approve?
I moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, looking for a motion to approve a contract increase in PWCO 000523, amendment to county contract issued to Camera Water Solutions, Inc. to furnish and deliver liquid ferric chloride to the Knollwood wastewater treatment facility for Public Works for a change order to increase the contract in the amount of $22,000, taking the original contract amount of $25,000, resulting in amended contract not to exceed $47,000, increase of 84.94%. Before I get a motion, well, do we have a motion on that?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion on this, I was just gonna say, I think one reason we have this is because there's a big increase, correct me if I'm wrong, on fluoride on this.
This is for our Knollwood treatment facility, and it provides ferric chloride that we need, and it's all dependent on the flows you have coming there. We're dependent on up or down, so we're kind of a victim of whatever comes to our plant.
Okay, of course we need it. That's obvious, but why the 85% increase?
Sean, go ahead.
Yeah, I can explain
Hi,
that. So the ferric chloride is used to remove phosphorus in the water. We do biological phosphorus removal there. 99% of the time it works really well, and we only have to dose a little bit of chemical to kind of polish and remove the remainder. We had maintenance activities that were unscheduled and weather that affected the biological phosphorus removal. So we had, yeah, we didn't anticipate it, so we had to jack up the chemical more to hit our limit of 1.0 for phosphorus removal.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, I want to put on. What's the wording on this? I always forget. For informational. 23-2673, recommendation for approval of a contract to Harris Govern for annual software maintenance and support services as needed for the period of April 1st, 2023 through March 31st, 2024 for building and zoning of $9,306.52. DOT and Public Works, $1,861.30 for a contract total not to exceed $16,751. So get a motion to put that on file. A second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's done. And let's move on to item number 12, discussion. This is what I brought up at the county board. If everybody was here on this. Was anybody not here for the county board when I brought this up? Okay, so this is the leasing of the space at the 420 building, the former youth home. They are working on paperwork, and I'm just looking to see the committee's will on this. We're going to be charging them a fee of $1,000. Basically, they're getting rent-free, they're getting a nice spot, and we're going to be looking for some ARPA money to update the spot so we can give them the sinks that they need so they can clean things. But they will be bringing their equipment in, they'll be preparing it there, and then people will be coming to pick it up and then take it out. There will be no people coming there to be served or anything like that. So
This is Meals on Wheels.
Meals on Wheels, yes,
For the
DuPage Senior
seniors.
Services.
And
Yes.
that's $1,000 a year.
It's $1,000 for the entire year, correct?
Right, and that, if you want to go ahead.
I will say the important thing for us is, the ARPA money is going to renovate the space. It will dedicate the space and block it off so they have no access to the rest of the building in the youth home. It is only going to be staff over there, a couple staff preparing the meals, and are not really preparing, but more packaging and doing that. There will be no public going over there to pick it up. Those employees will then take those meals and distribute elsewhere in the county. Our biggest concern is it cannot turn into the public going over there. It's not set up for the public to be over there. So that is our biggest concern. But given with which is one of those, I know we talked about maybe having other agencies doing stuff. We cannot have public on that side, especially at the youth home, not enough parking, the flow of traffic. But for this, I think it's a good mix for what we have. They have a very small footprint. And the area that we're using will be minimal.
Number to start.
Thank you. Regarding the ARPA capital, the ARPA funds used for capital for this, for getting the space into shape for them to use, have we gone over there and done the research on how much it's going to cost?
It's going to be less than $50,000.
Less than $50,000.
And so-
And then the operating budget, they're going to pay us $1,000 a year, but how much are we spending on electricity, water, blah, 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 all that?
That is the $1,000 is our estimate for our expenses. So it would be a net zero for the county.
Okay, thank you.
We will not make money, but we will not lose money.
Yeah, right. No, that's.
Members A first.
That's okay.
Are they preparing meals on this site or are meals brought in by a caterer?
It's my understanding and Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, they are not sitting there making the meals. They are bringing the meals and heating them there they have like heating racks and so they are not physically like putting the food in the packaging. That's my understanding. It'll be a third party bringing it there. Then they get it, they get the package ready to go out to wherever the delivery spot is for the distribution.
So it's really reheating and
Yeah,
prepare it however they do it.
Exactly. They're not going to be, putting potatoes in here
Chopping
and
or
meat.
anything.
They're not doing that.
No. Okay, members A?
Yeah, thank you. Did we have any future plans for that space?
Not right now. We have nothing. And we do have the lease that you have in front of you is a fairly short lease. It's like a year and a half, right around there, to see how it works. It's one of those that if it's not a good fit, then we're out in a year and a half, but is a good fit. We can do a yearly And if we ever need it, then obviously we have the first priority, but right now there is no intention on the youth help.
Do you need to do,
Refrigerator, whatever.
do you need to do toilet and sink, those sorts of improvements?
So there's gonna be plumbing in there, electrical improvements. We're gonna get them so that they have a completely standalone area that they can
But it's
utilize for
something that
this.
could be converted in the future.
And right now it has 2 bathrooms there
Oh, good.
that were
So-
there, so they're just gonna convert one of the bathrooms, they're gonna have one converted, correct me if I'm wrong, to a unisex bathroom, and then the other one would be put in for like a slop sink, something they can clean their utensils off and things like that.
Okay, great.
So it's all there, the plumbing really is all there at the meter.
Okay.
Where were they
Yeah.
before? Where were they
I
located
thi-
before? It's a PO box where you mail the check.
Yeah, well,
That's how you do it
and-
For clients.
that's the problem with them. I've talked to them once or twice. And if you remember, this board, or the county board, gave them a substantial, ARPA allocation for doing it. But they are losing where they're preparing out of, and it's kind of an emergency situation for them because they have nowhere, they're being kicked out, and I think that's fairly imminent.
I think it's
Right.
wise to have the short-term lease so we can see how it goes. So I
Absolutely.
like that idea.
Okay.
Because, and to see what else may be happening that the youth hub
Mhm.
area may need to expand or whatever. Okay.
For Chapman?
Thank you. So the, excuse me, so the meals that are gonna be prepared there, are those going to be for the senior citizens that qualify for the meals, or the program that we were doing with the sheriff? Just to, or is it a
I don't
combination of
know
both?
how they're operating with, I know it's the same program, I don't know exactly where they're gonna use the meals. We didn't get into
Okay.
that kind of depth with them.
From what I've talked to them, it's more Meals on Wheels, these are homebound people.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
So they'll be going, people connect it out, they'll be doing the
perfect.
well-being checkup at the same time.
Thank
So
you.
it's a little bit different,
Good.
population.
Yeah.
Okay, do I have consent on this, bringing it forward
Yes.
for everybody? Yes, okay, perfect, great. Okay, I'm excited to go on to the next presentation. It's our campus energy usage. Ian Johnson is here to give this to. If we don't find out what we're using, we can't learn how to do it better. So I'm very excited to hear what Ian has to say.
Thanks.
No problem.
So this is our CDM Smith and NICOR Campus Energy Usage Report. So a bit of a mouthful, but it's pretty simple. So the consulting company, CDM Smith, as well as NICOR Gas, both completed 2 energy assessments on our campus. And they looked at our campus energy use, our consumption, our greenhouse gas emissions, mainly carbon dioxide. And then they also gave us some tips, some strategies on how we can reduce our energy usage in the future. So a quick overview on how heating and cooling works on our campus. So our power plant, which is building 410 right across the road at County Farm, they have massive electric chillers. And so in the summertime, those electric chillers cool water that gets pumped to the majority of the campus. And then that cold water then cools air to condition our building air. On the flip side, in the wintertime, there are massive natural gas boilers at that building. And in the wintertime, those natural gas boilers heat water that gets pumped to the campus, most of the campus, that then heats air and heats the buildings across campus. So it's very similar to probably your own home, where if you have a gas furnace as well as an electric air conditioning unit. So on the right, that's a graph of just a year, that's 2022, on what our gas and electricity usage looked like. So in the wintertime, that blue line, you can see spikes in January and December. That's our gas usage because we're using a lot more gas in the wintertime. And in the summertime, our electricity spikes because the electric chillers are going. Now, changes to this energy usage is very significant. If you look at our budget for next year, we have over $3 million budgeted to pay our gas and electric bills. So any changes in this is a significant amount of money. So we looked at, CM Smith went back to 2015 to start tracking our energy. 2015 is the earliest we have reliable data on our electricity and gas usage. So in 2015, we used 36.47 million kilowatt hours electricity. And then in 2022, we used 34.75 million kilowatt hours of electricity. So that's a 4.7% decrease in usage, so significant. And that's also accounting for a 3.9% increase in square footage. So we're doing awesome. So campus got bigger, more electricity, space, and we still decreased our usage. So that's awesome. For gas, in 2015, we used 1.89 million therms. And then in 2022, we used 1.98 million therms. So unfortunately, that's a 4.7% increase in usage compared to 2015. However, there are a couple of reasons behind that. One would be a 2.5% increase in square footage. But also January and December 2022 were abnormally cold. So on average, they were 31 and 20% colder than previous years. Another way to look at that is heating degree days, which is about the amount of degrees that need to get heated to a comfortable temperature. And they had 17% and 12% more degrees that needed to get warm. So 2022 is a bit of an anomaly for gas usage. We won't know for sure until we plug in the data for this year, but we should see it start to trend back towards a more even level. So they also looked at campus greenhouse gas emissions from our electricity and gas usage. So the table in the center there, that's just looking at our carbon dioxide in metric tons in 2015 from both electricity and natural gas, as well as the metric tons of carbon dioxide we produced in 2022. The pie chart on the right there shows the breakdown of our campus greenhouse gas emissions by energy source. So electricity produces a significant amount, about 20% more carbon dioxide than our gas usage, okay? So our electricity, any decrease in electricity is very significant in that manner. Total though, we decreased our emissions from 2015 by 18% last year. So that's awesome. And that's including this anomaly of our gas spike from last year. So next year, I expect that number to be closer to 20% decrease after our gas usage kind of evens out a bit more, but we are doing awesome gains. Now, I will say ComEd is also greening their grid. They are adding more renewables every year. So our carbon dioxide our greenhouse gas emission decreases can also be attributed to them as well. So NICOR also did a energy analysis or assessment on our campus, and they mainly looked at each building specifically. So I know it's a little hard to read, but these are essentially a list of all the buildings we have on campus, as well as the energy intensity per square foot. And you can see our power plant, which is the top left, is by far the most energy intensive building we have on campus. But that is because it is cooling and heating most of the campus, right? I'll let you look at this on your own time if you really want to dive into the specific numbers. However, something to note is that this was very hard for NICOR to do. They essentially used our campus meters and then tried divvying up our total campus usage by each building, mainly just looking at square footage. Most of our buildings are not sub-meters. They don't have their own meters. So these were based off of estimates, which is hard to do. And I will say the industry standard for energy tracking is typically by building specific. Okay, so if you look at like a university campus, for example, they really look from building to building, because then you can see what problems are happening at each building, which buildings are using more energy than they should be, which buildings are efficient, so on and so forth. So that is something to keep in mind, that this was based off of estimates rather than actual data. I'll breeze through this because these are just past and upcoming energy projects that we've done on campus to help improve our efficiency. So we have a lot of solar that's upcoming. We've done a lot of lighting retrofits. We have more lighting retrofits coming up. We've done a lot of HVAC improvements. We have a lot of HVAC improvements coming up. So these are all attributing to our decrease in electricity usage, as well as hopefully a decrease in gas usage that hopefully starts to level out by next year. They then gave us some steps to kind of pursue, some items to pursue. The top table there is the one that facilities management believes to be the most relevant for us as a campus. The first one would be metering, right? So that we can start tracking our building specific energy usage more accurately. Then we also have solar energy and lighting retrofits up there. I did put the return on investments on these, and they're pretty good. So solar energy, for example, is with all the rebates and solar renewable energy credits, the return on investment is around 13.2 years. The Inflation Reduction Act actually also qualifies us for some tax credits, and so that number would actually be closer to about 10 years if we look into tax credits. Lighting retrofits, also awesome return on investment, and then some other net zero roadmap items, so essentially items suggested by CM Smith that will help us achieve a kind of net zero campus are also on there. That's pretty much it.
Okay, Member Desar first.
Thank you.
Okay,
So a friend of mine does this for a living. They work for ComEd and they go to different factories and buildings and businesses and try to help them reduce their energy output. So it caught me here on page 6 that, how many square feet is this administration building? Does anybody know offhand? No?
The administration building only?
The JTK administration building.
I guess about 270,000.
Yeah, I think it's
What about
just short of 300.
277, thank you. What about the corners building?
It's much smaller.
That's what I was thinking. So the corners building is much smaller than the administration
Keep in
building.
mind, the Corners building is one of the oldest ones on
And that's what I'm,
campus.
that's where I'm
It has
going
big
right there.
refrigerators.
17,400.
Okay, so-
It's cold over there.
I just want to get to my point. And that is that the administration building is using less energy than the corners building, which is much smaller, and it was built in the corners building was built in 1957. So my point is, are there things we can do to an old structure like the corners building to make it tighter? New windows?
Yeah, there's a lot of energy efficiency upgrades that we would be
Okay,
able to
good.
do.
And we were looking into those?
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking
So-
about the corners building, I'm just using
Yeah,
that as an
and so
example, but it
the-
is one of the oldest buildings on campus.
The one thing this committee and this board has done over the years is we have been very aggressive on any projects to reduce our energy consumption. I mean, and the board
I see
is
that here, so-
millions of dollars we've spent on lighting retrofits, window replacements. We will continue to do that. Any project we have on campus, we will bring to you with an ROI that actually is a, decent ROI. We've solved most of them after a while, the ROI gets so big that it doesn't make sense, but we will continue to examine and bring them. And if there's any opportunity to reduce our energy consumption, we will bring it here, and specifically with an ROI. And that's what we're looking at. Like the solar panels just recently became, with all the rebates, made it effective to do it financially. And we will continue to bring it here. I mean, like, we've had $1 million projects, I think we bought here for lighting retrofits over the years.
And even this building is no spring chicken, it's
Absolutely.
1970s, so there probably are more.
Well, this building is a great example where we've been talking about replacing the HVAC, the rooftop units here. They're original to the building. Once we replace them, it will reduce our energy consumption and make it a better environment inside as well. So there are still projects to be had on campus here.
And I think we were talking about lighting also, upgrading lighting, because that seems to have a good ROI, and it does, it's one of the things we should really be concentrating along with other things
Well,
that
even
we're.
like this later in the week, we're gonna be back in the 90s, and those are the lights, in all the offices.
And I'll say lighting is definitely, this is a saying that I've learned in government, is low hanging fruit, right?
Right.
Lighting is very obvious, very easy, cuts your energy by about half, depending on the lighting fixings. And I will say also, I mean, our metering will also really help us assess building to building, right? Like, so let's say we get new freezers at the corridor, right? We should be able to see that directly in our data if we have that building metered specifically.
I really think we really need to, like, as Ian just said, is we really need to concentrate on getting every building a meter, so that we can concentrate on exactly which buildings are outputting what, so it's much easier to make the changes that we need.
And we can just physically see, oh, we have retrofits, and now look at that also savings.
Exactly. Yes, any other questions, let us know. We do have another presentation to go to. Thank you so much, Ian, I appreciate that. And we've got the campus sidewalk program, and we've got Jeff.
Plastic stuff over the windows.
Are you proud of me?
As you know, we brought this before you in June. They've done some significant changes to it that I think are really good. And so I look forward to Jeff's presentation. Let's quick presentation, and I'm hoping we get consensus on this so they can start doing the work.
We got about 5 minutes here.
Go.
Jeff Madison Facilities. I'll do a real quick recap. We did have the engineer come in June with the preliminary design and budget estimates. They broke it down into 3 segments. 1, sidewalk outside the courtyard. 2, all the sidewalk within the courtyard and the brick pavers that are within there right now. And then we also had them look at a couple additional potential projects. Wendy, please. First time back, these were the initial budget estimates they gave us. The estimated cost for campus sidewalk outside the courtyard is kind of a fixed cost. That's a lot of ADA ramp repairs near intersections, that sort of thing. The courtyard, we did have them break it into kind of rehabbing what's there, keeping the existing plan, just getting rid of all the brick pavers, replacing with concrete. And then we also asked them for kind of a typical landscape upgrade should we redesign the courtyard. That came in with kind of a high number, the 2.8 million. And then the extraneous projects came in just over $500,000. After discussing with the committee, we asked the engineer to look at the courtyard option again. We really felt they could really minimize that, set it up for, get it down to the basics, and then maybe in the future look towards improving it. So for reference, we kept the option 1 here, which would keep the same layout, just replacing all the bricks, improving the concrete. Option 2, we asked them to look at removing all of the concrete in there, all the bricks. And we found that this would actually reduce paving by almost 43%, which means less maintenance in the future, less salt. Obviously less pavement going in, square footage wise. This does include relocating light poles, as we'd have to maintain the routes. There is a fire lane that we have to maintain at 12-foot width, and we already discussed that with the fire chief in Wheaton. This would also, instead of any sort of pollinator gardens, plantings, specialized areas, this would start with turf, and then this would give us opportunity in the future to come back and focus on areas as funding is available or as the committee directs us. So when the numbers came back in on that courtyard option 2, we got that down to about 1.54. Again, these are initial construction estimates. The next step in this project would be to direct the engineer to do bid documents and construction documents, and then we would get the real numbers once we put this out to bid. But we are anticipating a savings over trying to salvage what's already there. This also includes permeable paving, plaza between the 501 and 503 buildings, which also cuts down on our stormwater issues on campus and reducing runoff.
And just to point out, this, I mean, we heard loud and clear all the members about reducing it. The nice thing about option 2 is you have the backbone in there of the sidewalks we get rid of the pavers. We replace sidewalks that need to be replaced. In the future, we can always add trees, add plantings down the line, but this is like the minimum. We get the backbone in. We have a safe, effective, landscape or pedestrian area, and then we can always, in future budget years, if it does, we can talk about landscaping.
I love the idea of permeable pavers, but just quick question, is it ADA compliant?
So permeable pavers, if you've walked the courtyard right now, there's obviously what we have out there is you have the sidewalk on each side, you have the landscape bricks that have settled so much on the heaving freeze thaw. As far as permeable pavers out there, they provide, we have less detention needed for that. They are ADA compliant. Obviously that's going to be, as part of the design, we'll ensure that whatever we do, but there is an environmental benefit of putting those in. Right now, we need to get those paver blocks out of that courtyard.
And one more addition to that, with the plaza between the 503 and the 501, we were thinking there would be a concrete connection between the two that would be salted and plowed in the winter, but maybe in the wintertime we wouldn't plow on the pavers, and then we don't get the salt soaking into the brick. So
Which we would prefer not.
right, we would maintain any sort of gap between the two buildings. So.
Okay, Member Cahill?
Yes, so the detail below, you have the 690 for the new concrete paver, and then the permeable paving is 201, so that's 891. That's
Right.
part of the 1.5. So what is the
Additional
rest? Yeah,
Sure,
what's the difference between that?
So we also found that the demolition work in option 2 is actually cheaper per square foot, because instead of having to salvage all these bits and pieces of the existing concrete, they can just rip them out cleanly and then.
No, but I mean, what's the difference between the 900,000 and
Sure.
the 1.5? What are we paying for in there?
Right.
Landscaping is part of it,
Uh,
right?
Well, minimal, that'd be turf. Wherever
Okay.
sidewalk comes out, we just put turf in.
Okay.
And then the demolition of the existing
Okay, demolition, all
is
right.
a significant part. Yes.
That's a huge part then.
Correct.
That's the whole
Demolition's a
thing?
big
And
part.
then, as I mentioned, the light poles need to be relocated with some electrical work that, I do have a spreadsheet I can show you afterwards.
Okay.
Doesn't
how
in
this
option
all
1,
breaks down.
aren't you replacing the same though? So it'd be more concrete, right?
So in one, there's more concrete going back
Right.
in,
So
correct?
that's
And-
what the change, that's what
And the
the difference
demolition work to rip out the bits and pieces is a little trickier because you're trying to save some of the slabs and then you have to dowel into them. You need to.
You
do a lot
can't
more
match,
prep
it's
work.
really hard to
You gotta
match.
get great.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
like 600,000 in demolition, relocating poles, these things.
And
Is that
more
much?
concrete.
She's saying
Yeah.
yes, wow.
Next year was a.
Any consideration given, and don't gasp, heated sidewalks?
Those are
Your driveway,
incredibly
challenging.
There's one on campus at DuPage and it worked for at least 18 months.
Yeah,
They're brutal.
Really?
They're very, very challenging to maintain.
I think we have too strong of winters right now, I think.
Well, I
that-
think,
that's-
I mean, do you know Holland, Michigan, all of the sidewalks are heated? Obviously, private grant.
The solution was University of Chicago, if the tunnels were placed higher and you put the sidewalks over the tunnels. That was the trick. You missed that one.
Yeah,
in the
and I
70s.
think the Glenbard West
Yeah.
driveway was heated. I was just wondering if there's, but if you say,
No.
It's
They,
there.
they tried it and do comment, it worked so well.
okay.
Member Evans?
I just wanted to also kind of just get confirmation from Nick that the permeable pavers cost more to maintain, right?
Permeable pavers,
I would say if we were putting them in like a parking lot and cars and
Right.
trucks driving on them, that's when you really do see them start to break down. We feel in a pedestrian plaza, they're gonna hold up a lot better. And like I said, we're planning to just plow the concrete and not have a plow out there too, which would nick them and.
and if you think about permeable pavers in a parking lot, you get all of the road debris from the vehicles going on there. So you have, the problem is a permeable paver, the voids fill up. It's not so much on just a pedestrian walkway.
Okay.
And it does help with stormwater. You
Right,
all
well, and
know,
so,
yeah.
plus like, so option 2 versus option 1, it gives us a little more breathing room for our detention basin.
Staff highly recommends option 2 because if you're gonna do it, reduce the square footage of maintenance you need out there. You make it exactly what we need for pedestrian traffic out there. It will reduce the cost long run for maintenance activities on all of
Is a
that.
gazebo included in this?
There's no gazebo included.
No bench shades.
No gazebo.
There is nothing. This
There's
is
nothing.
Put a table.
bare bones sidewalk
There
to
is an
demo.
existing dedicated garden in the courtyard right now in Casa, and we would rededicate that to the permeable paver as
Okay.
a part of this.
You would have to relocate that Casa garden.
So I
Member
know-
Rutledge?
Chair, so when I first took over environmental in 2020, this was a presentation that they pulled me in on. So I'm glad to see that it's getting to the point you can promote it amongst the members. So I'm good with option 2. I like the permeable pavers, as long as they are not traffic. I know Warrenville had a long road of permeable pavers that was beautiful, but they ended up tearing it out, I don't know, 10 or 12 years later. The other thing I'd like to see too is, on our tree inventory, most of our trees are ash and mulberry, not the most desirable, and the ash trees certainly are not gonna last long. So diversity of trees to more native species is absolutely something I'd want to see happen.
Sure, and we have been updating our tree plan. We have a member of Stormwater, Jen Boyer, who helps us with that. And we do have an annual tree
Giveaway.
program, and we make sure they're all natives, they're all long-term. A lot of them go in like twigs right now because it's the most affordable, but we think, 15, 20 years down the line, we're gonna have a
It'll happen.
very nice campus.
All right, is there any, I think I'm looking for a
One more.
consensus on this, on option 2, I'm sorry, Member
That's
Zay?
right, you took somebody else outside the committee, not me. I'm waving you.
I didn't see you.
Here's my concern. My concern, we all talk about pavers. We didn't maintain the pavers here at all over the years.
No, you're correct. though.
I mean, so we're gonna talk and say, well, it's less maintenance. Well, yeah, it's less maintenance because we didn't do anything to them. My concern is that we're not gonna use them in the winter. And you're gonna build it and then not use it in the winter, you're not gonna plow it, you're not gonna put salt on it or do anything else. So it's only gonna be a paver for good weather, is that what we're gonna do?
For about 9 months of the year, it'll be open and active.
Okay. Have you talked to our insurance people about that?
We've all of.
Because all of a
this-
sudden, somebody goes over and walks on it, and slips and falls, and we say, well, we didn't maintain it. The next thing you know.
We're gonna formally close certain sections and do that, but we will, this entire process, we will include risk management in this design, in this process. They will be part of it.
I sure.
Fair to say that permeable pavers versus regular pavers are going to be less resistant to freeze and thaw cycles, that kind of stuff. They'll last better through the winter, won't they? More expansion?
I don't wanna, I don't know, we can
Theoretically.
definitely. So as part of the process, what we will do, we will work with the design engineers, work with our risk management. We'll figure out from a maintenance standpoint, we'll look at all of that and incorporate it in our final design as we move forward.
And as they do specification, it is very important to have the right standards going in for the construction work. We would have an engineer overseeing, parts of the installation. We want to make sure, you need a solid base, all that sort of thing. I would guess if the pavers that are currently out there were probably less intensive on their specs, they look more like an afterthought at this point,
I
so.
think they're more decorative than they were anything.
Yeah,
Well, that's,
yeah.
right.
It was more, the other ones that we are probably more of a feel-good thing that they've done, to be honest with you. These will be effective. We will make sure they're done
Installed
correctly.
correctly,
Yeah.
right.
And I want to thank both of you for your presentations today, but you've also reminded me that my furnace is 35 years old. and really troublesome pavers, but they're not in a walkway. But thank you, guys did a great job.
Okay, moving on, because I actually have another meeting to go to, that I'm late for. So on option two, looking to see
revised option
the
two.
revised option two, can I get consensus whether we can move forward on that by raising of your hands? Even, okay, thank you.
It's just a lot of
All right,
money
I think you have your direction staff, so I appreciate that. So is there any old news? Any old business? Member Chapman?
Just really quick, you guys do such great work in here for, as far as the environment goes. I would love to see like something in writing for the rest of the board to understand all the environmental improvements we're making, because I don't think people understand all the good stormwater to, transportation to, this committee, even development. We do so much great work. I think we need to like promote it more, that's all.
Okay, yeah, I think that's something we can get together and maybe do a presentation.
I mean, I do know that Joy does she does overall the county report. I think it's every 5 years, Joy, you do that, is that correct?
Yeah, I've done it for probably 10 years.
So
I think we're due.
long overdue.
Yeah,
We've done a
I
lot.
agree.
Every
Yes,
committee,
yeah.
every department has embraced it, and a lot of them have incorporated it into the.
Oh, wait a minute,
process.
so some of us still care about the environment, not only Sheila? Is that what
Everybody
it comes
does.
down to? Okay.
Everybody does. Okay, any new business?
I'm gonna go throw this in the trash now.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
Aye.
I'm not on the committee.
We are adjourned.